Good evening. 125 years of car tyre production by Dunlop in Birmingham is coming to an end with the closure of the company's motorsports plant. Well, it had been hoped a deal could have been struck to save the factory and more than 240 jobs. Workers believed they were safe until September at least, but today the US-owned tyre maker said it was pulling out of the city. Here's Bob Hockenhall.
A famous manufacturing name leaves the West Midlands after a proud history in the region, and it's a case of what a difference 5 years makes. This was what Dunlop Motorsport had to say about its factory in Erdington in 2009.
Well, the factory is absolutely full to capacity. We've won new business with new championships around the world, signed up many new teams in both motorcycle racing and in car racing. And it's a rare good news story, you could say, for the automotive industry.
That demand for good quality motorsport tyres continues, but Dunlop is ending its long association with Birmingham. Its American owners, Goodyear Tyre and Rubber Company, will switch the work to existing sites in France and Germany. The company's Birmingham factory had been leased from a commercial property company. That lease ends in September, and the 11-acre site has already been sold to Jaguar Land Rover, which wants to expand its neighbouring factory. The unions say workers have been let down. They've accused the company of not being genuine in the search for an alternative site.
It was not a case of what was wrong with the existing sites. It's a case of the fact we have two factories within our group that have capacity and the capability to make motorsport tyres, and unfortunately in the timescale that we had, we're not able to build a new factory.
Despite personal intervention by Business Secretary Vince Cable, it seems Dunlop is adamant it will leave Birmingham. Bob Hockenhall, BBC Midlands Today.
Well, earlier this afternoon I spoke to Jack Dromey, the MP for Birmingham Erdington, and he gave me his reaction to the news of the closure.
It's outrageous. Goodyear Dunlop is treating our city and our country with contempt. But 4 days ago, they agreed that they would examine all options for the future to remain in Birmingham. 4 days later, they have torn up the pledge that they made. It is absolutely wrong that a decision made 3,600 miles away in Ohio now threatens nearly 300 Birmingham workers with redundancy.
In a statement, Dunlop say that they have worked closely with local authorities and agencies to identify a local Birmingham site, but unfortunately no other site was available. Is that your understanding?
Not true. 6 months ago, an alternative site was identified 3 miles away at the Aston Advanced Manufacturing Hub. Dunlop said at the time, it's a good site. Dunlop have now been offered financial assistance to relocate to that site. Dunlop said that they would seriously examine doing that, but 4 days ago. Now Dunlop says it wants to walk away from Birmingham.
But is this a done deal, do you think? Is there any chance that these jobs could be kept in the West Midlands, kept in Birmingham?
We will not allow Goodyear Dunlop to tear up the pledge it made 4 days ago to examine seriously staying in Birmingham. That would be to betray the pledge it made, but also the commitment of generations of Birmingham workers who have built the success of the motorsport business. They deserve better now than to be thrown on the scrap heap.
But what can be done? Because it does sound as though the company has made its mind up and these jobs will be transferred to Europe, probably France or Germany, which suggests that they feel that these jobs would be more effectively carried out in Europe.
The company has a history of closing factories here in Britain and moving production to the continent. We intend to step pressure up on Dunlop over the coming weeks and months. We're not going to allow Dunlop just to walk away from the city. They owe Birmingham a commitment because it was Birmingham workers that built the success of their business.
Jack Dromey, thank you. Well, our business correspondent Peter Plisner is outside the Dunlop factory now. Peter, the local MP, clearly very angry. What's been the reaction there today?
I think there's anger here too. Unions and indeed workers are devastated at the news. Unions have accused Dunlop of walking away from its obligations. They've also accused the company of not being totally honest. They too have referred to that meeting last week between Vince Cable and the unions and Jack Dromey. Only 4 days ago, they say they did give a commitment to look more seriously at sites in Birmingham, and 4 days later they have decided to announce closure because they seem to have capacity elsewhere in their network in France and Germany.
And so, Peter, the factory site's going to be redeveloped pretty quickly, we think.
Well, that's certainly the understanding. Tonight I spoke to Jaguar Land Rover. They say their plans for the site are under development. They also told me that there are a number of options being considered, but I have to say they're expanding in all directions from the Castle Bromwich Jaguar factory. They've already taken over what used to be the site of a cinema. A car park that workers used to park their cars on is now being developed as a press shop. So new models are coming out all the time, so the capacity is definitely needed.
And what are the prospects for the Dunlop workers there who will lose their jobs?
Well, it seems unlikely that many of them will transfer either to Germany or France. Some may be redeployed within the Dunlop factories in the UK. There will be a 3-month consultation period, at which point some options may well be available, but I think the majority do face some kind of redundancy, it has to be said. OK, Peter Plisner, thank you. Now, coming up later in the programme, the legal